Aren't they adorable? There's just something about pets, especially dogs and cats. And it's not just luck, there's science behind our attraction to and need to care for animals. Jay Ingram's new book is The Science of Pets. It's a big topic as there are more than 1 billion pets cared for by humans on planet Earth. And Jay Ingram joins us from Victoria. Thank you for joining us today.
Hey, happy to be here.
Now, a lot of people will say, I like dogs more than I like people. So is there some science to that? Is there a reason why people are so attracted to dogs?
Well, there may be some people that like pets more than humans. I'm not sure that very much study has been done of those particular individuals. But it's still actually a little bit of a mystery why we are, by the way, the only species on Earth that keeps pets. So there's something special about the human attraction to having some kind of animal around, whether it's, the most popular version, as you said, like dogs and cats, but reptiles, turtles, budgies, whatever. And I think the best explanation is there's something called biophilia, the love of other living things. And I think for reasons that aren't clear, we have it, and we may even be born with it, and we're just attracted to other animals. And pet keeping has been the way that we express that.
You write in the book about a scientist named Konrad Lorenz, who actually won the Nobel Prize for his work studying animals. And he actually found that there are reasons why they're just so darn cute to us.
Yeah, this is a cool idea. So Lorenz showed that baby animals, but especially baby humans, have a particular kind of face, like very round and big eyes and a high forehead, none of which I have exactly. But this has an attraction for people. And it's, that makes sense from an evolutionary point of view. You want new mothers to be really attracted to their baby and take care of their baby to ensure the baby's survival. But Lorenz's ideas translate to puppies, kittens, and other newborn animals who have a lot of those features. A puppy doesn't look like a wolf, whereas the adult dog might. It's like Mickey Mouse was designed this way. The first Mickey Mouse looked like a rat, frankly. And as Mickey evolved, he became more like a baby mouse, big eyes, high forehead, round face, and so on. And some people argue, and I think this is debatable, that one of the reasons we like, say, dogs with flat, baby-like faces is because somehow in our brains we associate them with human babies. And so we're captured by their cuteness.
Mm-hmm. Now, a lot of people swear that when another member of the family comes home, the dog in the home will respond to it, rush to the door, and anticipate that person coming home even before they can hear the car. So what's the science behind that?
Well, there isn't a lot of science, and it's a little bit frustrating because there was a set of experiments done in England a few years ago where they very carefully controlled for everything that might tip the dog off. So have somebody coming home, but the dog doesn't know when that's going to be. It could be any time during the day, not the usual time they came home. They would watch the dog at various intervals to make sure the dog just doesn't randomly go to the door every 5 minutes, or that humans in the house don't tip off the fact that the other human is coming. And they really seem to show that this one particular dog had a very good sense of when the woman who was its owner was actually on her way home, but as you said, not close enough to hear the car engine. And then, unfortunately, a kind of skeptical group of scientists did their own version of this experiment. And even though they got very similar data that hinted that the dog did know, they poo-pooed it and said, we're just not convinced. And it really made me mad because somebody should have done the exact same experiment, which they pretty well did, and, then see You can't just say, oh, well, it doesn't convince me. The data looked pretty much the same, but it's an elaborate experiment, and I don't think it's ever going to be repeated. I would love to see it because how do you explain it if it's true?
Okay, we got to talk about cats as well because a lot of people love the cats, of course. Now, they had a bad rap, though, in that popes and royalty thought they were like the devil.
This is a very strange era, and I would say it was particularly in Europe and in England, especially in the 16 and 1700s, where the seed of the idea that the devil and witches and black cats were all associated. And in the witch hunt era in those days, usually women living on their own that owned cats would become accused of witchery, and the cats would be killed. And so it expanded beyond, well, sometimes the women were killed. It expanded beyond that to just a general attitude of slaughtering cats in a weird kind of celebration. So let's get a bag of cats and set it on fire. People actually did this kind of stuff. And it really wasn't until the early 1800s when this wholesale attack, persecution of cats stopped. Now, of course, we still have a lingering memory of it at Halloween. Witches on broomsticks with black cats. Fortunately, nobody takes it any further than that.
Yeah, thankfully, we're a lot nicer to cats nowadays. Okay, let's do the comparison here, cats versus dogs. Let's say my dogs are looking at me eye to eye. There's eye contact. What are they thinking as opposed to a cat that's looking at you?
Well, people might generalize and say, well, the dog is actually bonding with you. And there is evidence for that because there's a brain hormone that gets elevated in both dogs and humans when they look into each other's eyes. The evidence for cats doing that is not quite as solid. It's interesting that if a human looks into a wolf's eyes, the wolf's brain hormones don't change. So there is a basis, but if you go, this doesn't mean that the cat isn't thinking about you, and nor does it prove that the dog is actually thinking about you. And when it comes to what are our pets actually thinking, I think the jury is out. We're still a long way from understanding what our pets think of us. I will tell you one very quick story. Watch how your dog wags his or her tail. If it wags to the right as you're, standing behind the dog, then the dog is content and happy and relaxed. If it wags to the left, it's not. And maybe that's because there's an unknown person in the vicinity or an aggressive dog. Cats, on the other hand, tend to hold their tails straight up with maybe a little bit of a kink at the top. Then they're content.
Oh, that is fascinating. Tom Brady, the retired football star, recently revealed that he has cloned his dog. He took DNA of the dog before it passed away, and now he has a duplicate of it. What do you think about all that?
Actually, it drives me crazy because the idea that the dog is going to be a duplicate is simply not true. And, Barbara Streisand found that out when she cloned her favorite dog because she really liked its coat, its sort of curly coat. And 3 dogs were eventually produced, and none of them had the coat that she wanted. Everyone knows identical twins who may look somewhat identical but behave completely differently. And it is likely to happen with a dog. It's all about how the dog is raised, not about the genes of the dog. And you can't forget that there are other female dogs that are involved in this process. The one that produced the eggs that the Tom Brady's dog DNA would be implanted into, and another female who had to be the surrogate mother. And I frankly have much more concern for those dogs that are being used to treat some rich human's desire who thinks he or she will get a dog that is a duplicate of the one they already have.
Okay, we've talked about dogs, we've talked about cats. Let's talk about reptiles. Is a python a pet?
Yeah, and you know what it always comes down to? It's really more about the human than the pet. And to the person who owns the python, it definitely is a pet. But the question really to ask is, what is the goal here? And if the goal is to ride the subway with the python around your neck, which you can see videos of, it
Really?
happens. And yeah, oh yeah, just try a YouTube video, you'll find them. I mean, that's really so much more about the human. That's not doing anything for the pet's benefit. On the other hand, if a person has a python and it never leaves the house and they don't show it off and they treat it well, then okay. For me personally, the kind of interaction you have with a snake versus a dog or a cat or many other mammals is quite different. Because I think the idea that the snake is your companion, you really have to show me snake behavior that would bear that out. Otherwise, I think you're just doing it for yourself.
Okay, one more question here. Back to dogs. Why do dogs follow us to the washroom when they don't necessarily follow us to the couch, for example?
Well, I've never actually had a dog that does that. So I can't actually answer that. I will say though that the difference between dogs and cats boils down to cats tend to be pretty territorial. I mean, they may wander for a couple of hours at night, but they come home generally. Dogs are attached to humans in a way that cats aren't. And this all goes back to how they became pets in the first place. Wolves became dogs, they associated with hunter-gatherers, and they're pack animals. Cats are definitely not pack animals. And so I would say it's not exactly, I don't know the difference between the bathroom and the couch, but a dog will follow you around because the dog is attached to you as a pack animal. The cat probably won't.
Well, it's a fascinating book. There's lots of food for thought here. Thank you very much for speaking with us today.
Oh, thanks a lot. It was fun.
And Jay Ingram's new book is The Science of Pets.